Hi everyone, I'm Ashfaq Ahmed Khan and you are watching my channel KhanTech. Welcome to KhanTech. In this video I'm going to discuss Unit 3 of Class 10 Relational Database Management System. In this there are 5 sessions. We will cover one by one. Session 1 is Appreciate the Concept of Database Management System. What is a database? A database is an organized collection of data. You can visualize it as a container of information. Data is typically organized into to model relevant aspect of reality. For example, rooms in hotel. In a way that support process requirement this information. For example, finding a hotel with facilities such as laundry, gym, etc. Suppose if you own a stationery shop, you want to keep details, records of materials available in your shop. You also need to store information about pricing, stock levels, recording, old stock, etc. While the manual system you would maintain several files with different bits of information. In the computerized system, you would use data programs such as Microsoft Access, OpenOffice Arc, Base, MySQL to organize the data as per your business need. The database concept has evolved since 1960s to ease increased difficulties in designing, building, and maintaining complex information system, concurrent end users, and with large amount of diverse data. In this video, you are going to learn Dbms system, how to manage a database of any organization, whether it is a shop or retail shop or whatever it may be. What is a DBMS? A database management system software. It is a software package with computer programs that controls the creation, maintenance, and use of database. It allows organization to conveniently develop database for various applications. A database is an integrated collection of data records, files, and other objects. It's a collection of records, files, and objects. A DBMS allows different user application programs to concurrently access the same database. You can access millions of users at the same time to a database. Well-known DBMS include Oracle, IBM DB2, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access, PostgreSQL, MySQL, FoxPro, and SQLite. Data can be organized into two types. How the data is organized in a file. One is a flat file, the other one is a relational database. In the flat file, data is stored in a single table, usually suitable for less amount of data. If you have small amount of data, then you can store it in a flat file. Now, where you come to large amount of data, if you want to store large amount of data, then go to the relational database management system. Data is stored in multiple tables, and the tables are linked using a common field. All the tables are linked to different tables with a link. Relational is suitable for medium to large amount of data. You can store large amount of data here in the relational database management system. Data servers. Data servers are dedicated computers that hold the actual databases that runs only the DBMS and related software. Servers are the computers software loaded with this is DBMS software. Typically, databases available on database servers are accessed through command line or graphical user interface tools referred to as front ends. We can access database servers through commands, or else we can use GUI, that is graphical user interface front end tools, using front end tools. Database servers are referred to as backends. These servers are referred to as backends. Such type of data access is referred to as client server model, where you can access the data which is located on the server. Advantages of database. What are the advantages of database? Reduces data redundancy. Database management system contains multiple files that are to be stored in many different locations in the system or even across multiple systems. Because of this, there were some multiple copies of same file lead to data redundancy. This is prevented in a database as there is a single database and any change in it is reflected immediately. If you want to change the values in one table, it is reflected automatically because the data is linked in a database. So there is no chance of encountering duplicate data. This is the first advantage of database. We cannot enter the same data, that is duplicate data, again and again. If you are entering, then it will not allow you to enter the data. That is data redundancy. Reduce the data redundancy. That is, it will not allow you to duplicate data. And next advantage is sharing of data. In a database, the users of the database can share the data among themselves. There are various levels of authorization to access the data. Consequently, the data can only be shared based on the authorized users. If you want to access data in a database, then you have to given access permissions to access the data. Otherwise, you will not allow to access the data in a database. Only the users which have access to database, then they can use those data and they can modify access and they can update, they can delete. They are the permissions. Only those have access to data, then only they can access. Many remote users can also access the database simultaneously and share the data between themselves. These remote database users can view only the data, but they cannot edit or update or delete the data because they don't have the permissions. In this way, the sharing of data is advantage, and we can restrict the users by giving the accessibility permissions. The next advantage is data integrity. Data integrity means that the data is accurate and consistent in database. Data integrity is very important as there are multiple databases in a RDBMS. All of these databases contain data that is visible to multiple users, so it is necessary to ensure that the data is correct and consistent in all the database for all the users. So the advantage of this data integrity is the data is accurate and consistent, so that the multiple users can access the correct data. The next advantage is data security. Data security is an important concept in a database. Only authorized users should be allowed to access the database, and their identity should be authenticated using a user word and password. Authorized users should not be allowed to access the database under any circumstances, as it violates the integrity constraints. Only those users which have given the permissions can access the data. Other users can only view the data. They can access. They cannot modify. They cannot do with the database. Only authorized users can access the database. That's the security of the database. We can prevent unauthorized users by restricting some constants to users. Next advantage is privacy. A privacy rule in a database states that only the authorized users can access the database according to its privacy constraints. To secure the data levels are set in a database, and users can only view the data which is allowed to be seen. For example, in social networking sites, access constraints are different for different accounts. A user may want to access. Suppose if you want to access the professional version of the with full features, then you have to be paid for that. So in that way they can restrict the users to unauthorized users, and they will put constants, and they will put the data in privacy. And the next advantage is backup and recovery. Database management systems automatically take care of backup and recovery. The user did not need to back up the data periodically, because this is taken care of by the Dbms, database management system. Moreover, it is also restore the database after a crash or system failure to its previous condition. Here in the server there are who manage the servers. There are specifically there are persons who will allotted to take care of database on the server. If there is something goes wrong, then they will take the recovery. We need not to bother about the data security, because the system is stored in a secure way, and there are authorized persons who will take care of the servers. Data is 24/7 will be available in a servers. We need not worry about the failure to a database and is there any system crash. There are database system administrators as well as database administrators allotted for this job. Database administrators will take care of backup and recovery of data and all the issues related to the server. Data consistency. Data consistency is ensured in a database because there is no data redundancy, because there is no data duplicacy here in the database. Data consistency means there should be multiple mismatching copies of the same data. All the data appears consistently across the database and must be same for all the users viewing the database. Moreover, any change made to the database immediately reflect all the users and there is no data inconsistency. All the data is going to be updated. Any modifications to the data will reflect all the users. That is data consistency. You will get the same data, you will not get the duplicate data. Features of database. For example of your address book. What do you store in an address book? You may have people's name, address, phone number, and maybe even their birthdays. There is a common element here, people. In this example, each person is considered as item. Here every person is considered as item in a system. So the database will store information about that person. When you are recording information in your database address book, what did you ask the people? What is your address? What is your phone number, etc. Each question that we ask about our item is a field. Person is item, and the field is each question of that we ask for our item is a field. Now you may make new friends and want to add their information to your address book. You will ask questions, get the answer and create a new record. So a record is a set of information stored in a database about one of the items. A value is the actual text or number, amount or data that you want to put while adding information to your database. You put all the information together in a grid like you do in spreadsheet. A collection of similar records create a table. A collection of records is a table. There are some key features of database. A database can have one or more tables. An address book's example is a very simple one. In a real world, there are many more details involved. A big company would have in its database one table for its product, one table for its suppliers, one table for its customer details, and one for orders received, and maybe many more others. There are thousands of databases in a server. Maybe thousands of records and n number of databases in a server. Each table in a record database contains information about one topic of item. So a database is a container that holds the tables and other objects and manage how they can be used. It is a container. Database is a container that holds the tables and other objects. Another very important thing to remember that is when you put in information, one may have people with the same name or the same address, but when creating a database, it is is an important feature is record uniqueness in every table. It is important to be able to distinguish between different items having duplicate values. Uniqueness helps to avoid accidental duplication of records caused by users or computer error. There should not be a same record entering multiple times, so there is no duplication of data in a database. This can be achieved by using some number or values that uniquely identifies a record. If such a unique value does not exist in your field, the database designer you can create a special additional field in a table where unique numbers or values can be assigned for each new entry. Therefore, every table has a key field which ensures that there are 100% unique values throughout the database. When designing a database administrator will take care of this. He will design the database in such a way that there is no duplication of data. The key field should be ensured unique. Every database table should have one or more field designated as key. You can assign a unique values to this key for differentiating records that may have similar names or addresses. Look at the following table. Name standard section. Here name standard and section. Name Ravi, Ram, Ravi, Sanjay. Here Ravi is entered 2 times. And he is class 10th and section also same. How is it possible? Is it not possible to? Maybe a student can have a same name with in a class 10th, but his section and the roll number may be unique. Roll number is unique. Name can be the same, but his roll number should be unique. In this table, it will be extremely difficult to differentiate between the student records as they have names that are similar. To differentiate, you can add additional field, that is roll number, that will be unique for each record. If you don't add this field, roll number, then accessing of the data from a database is difficult. If you assign roll number, then easily we can pick up the data from each student. Example of RDBMS. You had used an example of an address book in the previous section. An address book uses only one table. But look at a different situation. If you are a dealer selling a single type of item and want to record details of your sales in the past month and also want to details of the client who purchased the item. The customer's name, address, phone number, date of purchase, number of item he brought, etc. Then what would you do? You create a table sales with the details. You create a table such as order ID and then customer name, customer address, customer phone number, that is sale date, that is purchase date, item he brought. Every time you sell an item or to Sheila Vaibhav, or any other customer client, you need to store the detail again. So what is the situation? Create one table for each client and another for sale details. Since each record has be unique, you can insert a client ID field to uniquely identify each client in that client table. Client table, this is a client ID should be unique. The customer name should be same, but the ID should be unique. In the sales table, you would give a point reference to which point to a particular record, the client table. Here there are two tables, one is client table, client details, and the other table is sales details. So that the client table, in the client table, client ID is a primary key, unique, and in the sales table, refers to here client table. Here client ID is unique, so that the sales table can refer the records very easily. In the example here, the field client ID occurs once in the client table, but since one client can place many orders, it occurs a number of items in the sales table. Since we cannot have an order without a customer, we call client the parent and sales the child table. Here client is the parent table and the sales table is a child table. Relate the tables like these shares a common field. You store a data about the people once, but refer to those people with many times in a database. Here the important point is remember this client table is and as client the parent and the sale table is a child. When the data is stored, maintained and retrieved from multiple tables, then special database software requires known as Relational Database Management System. In the RDBMS, data can be integrated using keys. How will you integrate or how will you connect these tables or data in a database? By using the keys. In a RDBMS, data can be integrated using keys. Client, this is also, remember this. Sales table is a child table, client table is a parent table, and the data is integrated using keys. These are, what are the keys? Primary key, composite primary key, and foreign key. There are three keys in a database which uniquely identifies the record in a table. How will you identify in a data in a record in a table? By using these primary keys. Primary key means uniquely identifies. It will give only one unique ID to each record. That is primary key. A unique field is called the primary key. Primary key is the unique values that identifies a row in a table. In our example, client ID is the primary key. Client ID is the always unique. That is primary key. We should assign primary key. There should not be any two duplicate data or two keys. Only one client ID is the to identify a record. Is a primary key in a client table. Primary keys are also indexed in the database, making it faster for the database to search for a record. When the primary key constant is applied on one or more columns, then it is called known as composite primary key. When the primary key is applied on two columns, then it is called composite primary key, two or more columns. In a table, if you applied one column, that is, if you applied one column, that is a primary key. If you applied two columns, it is called composite primary key. The next one is a foreign key. The referred field client ID, which occurs in the sales table, is called a foreign key. Here there is one client table. This is one table, client table. And one is sales table. Here order ID is a unique. Here order ID is a unique. And here one more ID, client ID, that is this client ID is matching to this. Client ID in a client table, client ID. In the sales table also one column, client ID, as well as one more ID, that is order ID. Here there are two IDs. There are two keys here, that is uniquely identifies a record in a table, is called keys. There are two keys. One is primary key, the other one is foreign key. Order ID is a primary key, client ID is a foreign key. The referred ID in the client table, client ID, which occurs in the sales table, is called foreign key. This is called foreign key. Hence, the foreign key identifies a column or set of columns in one table that refers to the column or a set of columns in another table. The one side of the relation is always the parent and provide the primary key attributes to be copied. The many side of the relation is always the child onto which the foreign key attributes are copied. Memorize it: one parent primary key, many child foreign key. Here this is called primary key. This is parent. This is This is like a, this is called father, and this is a child, that is a foreign key. Foreign key is referred to as child. Parent is one, and there are more children. That is foreign key. Foreign key can be 2 or 3 or 4, but the primary key should be 1. Client, one client, 3 orders for that client. In the sales table, the 2 columns are primary key. One is client ID is a primary key, which is present in the parent table, that is client table, and this order key also primary key, which is present in sales table. And another important point to remember is that the end users will may never have the direct access to the database. End users will not have the access to a database. They can only see what you permit them to, and can select only from the option you give to them. End users will not have full access, or they can only see the data which you have given the permission to access to that database. The database administrator will give the accessibility option to the users. He will create, he will design, he will give the access to the users of all the users of a database. What is RDBMS? A relational database is a type of database management system. It uses a structure that allows us to identify and access data in relation to another piece of data in the database. Often the data in a relational database is organized into tables. How the data is organized in a database? The data is organized in a database by using tables. What are tables? Tables are nothing but rows and columns. In a database, tables are present. These tables are organized in such a way that there is no duplication of data, so that the primary key constants are applied to a table. Primary key, that is, uniquely identifies a row in a table. Here we will see the filling the blanks questions. A dash is an organized collection of data. What is it? Organized collection of data. Organized collection of data is called database. Organized collection of data is called database. Organized collection of data is called database. A dash is a software package that can be used for creating and managing databases. What is the name of the software? The name of the software is DBMS. DBMS, Database Management System, is a software package that can be used for creating and managing the database. A dash is a database management system that is based on relational model. Relational model is what is a database system? That is referred to as relational database management system, RDBMS. RDBMS is a database management system based on the relational model. That is primary key, foreign key, primary key, foreign key, and composite primary key. RDBMS. The next question is 3 popular RDBMS software. One is Oracle, Oracle Corporation. Company name is Oracle Corporation. Next, second one is DBMS, is DB2. DB2 from IBM company. This database software is from the IBM. And third one DBMS software is SQL. SQL Server. SQL Server is a Microsoft product. Oracle is a product of Oracle. DB2 is a product of IBM. SQL Server is a product of Microsoft. 3 popular RDBMS software are Oracle, DB2, SQL Server. Next question. A dash is a unique value that identifies a row in a table. If you want to identify unique values, that is, we have to apply primary key. Primary key is a unique value that identifies a row in a table. Primary key. Next question. Composite key is a combination of dash columns. Composite key is a combination of 2 or more columns. 2 or more. Two or more columns. Composite is a combination of two or more columns. Next question, short answer questions. What does DBMS stand for? DBMS stand for Database Management System. What does RDBMS stand for? Relational Database Management System. How is data is organized in RDBMS? Data is organized in RDBMS. In the RDBMS, data can be integrated using keys. That is primary key, composite primary key, and foreign key. Data is organized using keys in RDBMS. State the relationship and differentiate between primary key and foreign key. Primary key is the unique ID, whereas unique ID is called primary key. Unique field is called primary key. The reference field, that is client ID, which occurs in the sales table, is called foreign key. The unique field is called the primary key. Here we have studied, that is client table. The reference client ID which occurs in the sales table is called foreign key. Reference ID is a foreign key. Primary key is the unique ID. That's all about this chapter, first session. That is what is DBMS, what are the advantages, and what is RDBMS, how the tables are stored in a database, and relations between the different tables by using RDBMS, and how the data is referred to a table, and how the duplication of data is prevented by using keys, that is primary key and foreign key. We have seen in this session. That's all about I'm going to end this session. We'll meet in the next video, the session 2. Till then, bye.